Okay, how many days is 360 hours? The point of doing these questions is not to be able to come up with the correct answer. Oh, what is the point? The point is to be able to show your work the way that I want it shown. My way is the best way. I'm not even kidding. And I'm not saying it's the best way because it's just me. It's like every single university textbook out there does their conversions this way. Okay? So if you have learned something slightly different in physics, don't do it the physics way, do it my way, which is the chemistry way, which is all of chemistry everywhere, which is the best way. Okay? So there are three things that you need to identify in any problem. One is the U. Do you guys know what U stands for? It stands for the unknown. It's going to be the thing with the question word. Okay, so you look at this and you go, how many days? That is your unknown. So we don't know how many days. Our initial quantity we're going to represent with the letter I. So we have a U, we have an I. Okay, the initial quantity will be given to you in the question and it will be connected in the sentence to the unknown. This one is really easy. There's not much sentence to do the connecting, but there is a connecting word here. The connecting word is, okay? And it connects days with 360 hours. That is your initial quantity, 360 hours. A conversion factor, CF stands for conversion factor. It's going to have a top and it's going to have a bottom. These two must be equal. Okay? And it's going to, one of them will have 1 unit and one of them will have a second unit. Okay? And you can just write it as an equality. Do you know an equality between days and hours? There are 24 hours is equal to 1 day. Okay? Every question we do, you are going to start with your unknown. You're going to say my unknown is equal to my initial quantity times a conversion factor. So my unknown, I don't know how many days. So I'm going to write, I don't know how many days. Is equal to my initial quantity, which is my 360 hours, times a conversion factor. And when I do a conversion factor, I'm going to write times. And then remember, every conversion factor has a top and a bottom, so I'm going to draw a line so I can write something on the top and so I can write something on the bottom. So If I want to find the number of days, and I don't want to have hours anymore, I need to cancel out hours. Where do hours need to go in order to cancel out? They need to go on the bottom. So hours go down at the bottom. And that means that days, which is what we want to find, needs to go on the top. And we know that there are 24 hours is equal to 1 day. We can, because we have hours on the top of the equation and on the bottom of the equation, they will cancel out. And you are left with 360 times 1. When you're typing it into your calculator, do you need to type times 1? No, because 360 times 1 is just 360, but you do need to type divided by 24. And that gives us 15, and the unit that is left is the days. I'll tell you what I was seeing a lot of this morning. I was seeing a lot of this. That will get you no credit. Okay, 0, you get nothing for writing that. Because the point is not to actually find out how many days there are in 360 hours, right? That's not useful information to you or me or anyone. What is useful to you is going to be this method of doing calculations where you say, I'm going to first write my unknown. Secondly, I'm going to write an equal sign. Third, I'm going to write my initial quantity. And then fourth, I'm going to write times a conversion factor. Okay, and I'm going to cancel out my units and be left with whatever remains uncanceled. That's the point of doing the question, not because anybody cares how many days 360 hours is equal to, because nobody does. At least I don't. Okay. So we are not going to go straight away to the exercises. I'm going to leave those because today we are supposed to be doing multi-step conversions. Okay, so this is on page 51. So just like in the single step conversions, we are going to be looking for an unknown in the question. We're going to look for the question word. We're going to be looking for an initial quantity, which will be connected to the unknown in the sentence. And then we will have some conversion factors. You might know them, like 24 hours per day, you know that. Or they might be given in the question, in which case you have to find them in the question. Okay, so let's take a look at our first problem. It's really a straightforward one. How many seconds are in 1 day? This example is just further down your page, if you want to just follow along there. How many seconds are in 1 day? We can identify, what does U stand for? U stands for unknown. Who is the unknown in this case? How many seconds? So that is our unknown. You'll notice that it is attached in the sentence are in 1 day. That makes 1 day the what? It's not the unknown, it is the initial quantity. Sometimes people call it the given quantity. Hebden calls it the initial quantity, and we use that as our primary textbook for years and years, so that's how I refer to it as well. Okay. And one thing that is useful to do is to draw a map of where you are starting which is at the 1 day, and where we want to finish, which is at the number of seconds. And you'll notice I've left some space in between there because I do not know how many seconds there are in 1 day. I cannot do that in one step. What could I convert days into? Days could convert into hours. Hours could convert into minutes. And minutes could convert into seconds. What this means is, unlike the previous problem where we only had to change one unit into another unit, here we need to make 1, 2, 3 changes, which means we will have, there's 3 steps, therefore there are 3 conversion factors. Conversion factor number 1, between days and hours. You guys know that 24 hours is equal to 1 day. Conversion factor number 2, we want to go between hours and minutes. What is the conversion factor between hours and minutes? 60 minutes is equal to 1 hour. I'll just use H for hour. That's the official abbreviation. And then thirdly, we can go from minutes to seconds. Whoops. Okay, and we know that there are 60 seconds is equal to 1 minute. Our basic mathematical sentence is going to look like this. Our unknown is equal to, what's the first thing we write? Unknown is equal to the initial quantity times a conversion factor. Okay, so the unknown is equal to an initial quantity times a conversion factor. But we have 3 steps here. So our unknown is going to equal our initial quantity, and then we're going to multiply it not by 1 conversion factor, but by how many conversion factors? 3. So we'll have times a conversion factor times a conversion factor times a conversion factor. Okay. It is optional. All of this bit here is optional in terms of what you get marked on. Like, you don't have to write any of the map. You don't have to write your conversion factor. You don't have to actually circle your unknown. You don't have to circle your initial quantity. But these are things that might be helpful for you. If you find them helpful, use them. If you don't, the only thing you need to write is what we're going to write next. Okay? So this is the part that is not optional. You need to say, my unknown is how many seconds? So I'm going to say, what am I solving for? I am solving for the number of seconds. So you can write a question mark there. You can write a number sign there. You could write number of seconds instead. Okay. Second thing you're going to do is you're going to write your initial quantity. And our initial quantity is 1 day. So we have our unknown is equal to our initial quantity, and then times, what does a conversion factor look like in general? How many things are in a conversion factor? 2 things. Where are they? One is on the top, one is on the bottom. So I'm going to draw, for every conversion factor, I'm going to draw a line so I can put something on the top and something on the bottom. I know that there are 3 conversions to do that here, so I'm not going to just draw 1 times line. I'm going to draw 1, 2, 3 of them. Now, we're going to use our little map to work our way through this. We want to go from days to hours in step 1. So where will I want my days to go in order to get it to cancel with this day? That's on the top, so the day needs to go on the bottom. So the day goes down here, and I know that there are 24 hours in a day, so I can write 24 hours in one day. And I should cross out the days so that I know I have canceled them. Second step. I went from days to hours. Now I want to go from hours to minutes. So we need to cancel out the hours. So hours need to now go on the bottom so that they will cancel. And I need to put minutes on the top. There are 60 minutes in 1 hour. Cross out the hours because they cancel out. And finally, we're going to go from the minutes to the seconds. So the minutes have to go on the bottom so that they will cancel out with the minutes that are on the top. And our seconds are going to go on the top, and that's good because that's what we were looking for, and that's what we ended up with. Okay, and you put in your numbers. There are 60 seconds per 1 minute. Toss that through our calculator, we get 24 times 60 times 60 equals 86,400 seconds. And if you were really kind to the person marking your paper, you will put a box around your final answer. Let's check our sig figs. I'm going to assume that that 1 day is exact because who's going to be like, how many seconds are there in 1 day plus or minus 1 day? Right? That makes no sense. 1 day plus or minus 1 day is like either 0 days or 1 day or 2 days. And that just is nonsensical. It's an exact 1 day. And all of these conversions are exact because they are defined, so I don't have to worry about sig figs in this question. Is good? Okay. Real life example. This is why you learn conversion factors. Well, number 1, so you can do chemistry, but number 2, you might need to drive some debaters to a tournament in Penticton 1 day, and you might need to figure out what the cost of fuel was so it could be included in the cost of the field trip. Okay, you might not need to do that, but in about 2004, I indeed needed to do that, and I did use this exact process to go about doing it. So when I say this is actually, you know, when people are like, when will I use this in real life? You will use dimensional analysis, unit conversion in real life. I've had students come back to me and they're like, yes, I actually have used it in real life. Okay, it is like so foundational. Okay, it's amazing. It is such a good tool. All right, there is so much blah, blah, blah in this question. What do you actually need from the question? You actually need all the numbers. Number, 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 number. Oh, look, some question words. Yes? So you need to find your numbers and you need to find your question words. All right? And the rest of it is just like blah, 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 blah. Okay? If you want to hear it, I looked up the distance to Penticton and the driving distance was 403 kilometers. I looked up the highway mileage for my 2002 Honda Odyssey and found that it was 25 miles per gallon. I buy my gas in liters, so I have to convert gallons to liters. And finally, I know my distance in kilometers, not miles, so I need 1 kilometer equals blah, blah, blah miles. And the price of gas, it was a long time ago, was $1.30 per liter. How much will it cost to make the trip to Penticton? You need to find your unknown. What is your unknown? How much will it cost? What do we measure cost in? Dollars. Okay, so the unknown is I don't know how many dollars. My initial quantity, remember, it will be connected to the unknown in the question. What is connected to how much will it cost? In gas to make the trip to Penticton. So my initial is the trip to Penticton, which is nice. However, it wasn't very nice when I did it. It was like blowing snow and oh my God, it was a nightmare. It was like white knuckles on the van. Anyway, trip to Penticton. What, I need a number there. What number in that question represents the trip to Penticton? 403 kilometers. That was my driving distance. That is my trip to Penticton, which is 403 kilometers. Am I going to use this 2002 in my calculations, my 2002 Honda Odyssey? No, because that's just the year my car was made, okay? I no longer own it. 25 miles per gallon, 1 liter per 0.26 gallons, 1 kilometer. You'll notice that each of these have not just 1 unit, but 2 units, miles and gallons, liters and gallons, kilometers and miles, dollars and liters. What are all of those things that have 2 different units? They're not your unknown. They're not your initial quantity. Those would be your conversion factors, okay? Okay, so we have 25 miles per gallon. We have 1 liter equals 0.26 gallons. We have 1 kilometer is equal to 0.62137 miles, and we have $1.30 per liter. It might help you to map this problem. So let's do a map. We always start with our initial quantity. And we convert it all the way to our unknown, or our unknown. So we are starting with 403 kilometers. What can we convert kilometers into? Here's my only kilometers, yes? Kilometers, I can convert it into miles. I've used that conversion factor. What can I convert miles into? I'll go looking around for miles and say, oh, here's some miles. I can convert miles into gallons. What can I convert gallons into? Oh, there's gallons again. I can convert it into liters. And what can I convert liters into? I can convert it into dollars. Now we know we're going to have a 1, 2, 3, 4-step process. Okay? 4 conversion factors, that's good because we have 1, 2, 3, 4 conversion factors. So 4 steps, 4 conversion factors. What do I write down first? What comes next? My initial quantity, which is the 403 meters. And I'm just going to get myself ready to go with 4 conversion factors. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? What am I going to do with kilometers here? I need to do what with it? Cancel it out. So it needs to go on the bottom. So kilometers go here. And I'm turning kilometers into miles, so miles need to go on the top. I'm actually just going to go through and stick in all my units before I even put any numbers in. I want to now go from miles to gallons, so I need to cancel miles by putting it on the bottom. And what do I put on the top? I put gallons. And now we're going from gallons to liters. So cancel the gallons and put in liters. And finally, we want to cancel the liters and find the dollars. If you want to, you can go through and put in all your units like this and go grab the numbers later. So for example, I have done this. Now I can go grab the fact that I have 1 kilometer is equal to 0.62137 miles. I can go find my 25 miles equals 1 gallon. 25 miles equals 1 gallon. And 0.26 gallons is 1 liter. And then I have $1.30 for 1 liter. Throw that all into the calculator. 403 times 0.62137 divided by 25 divided by 0.26 times 1.3 equals, and I get 50.082422. And the only unit I have left after everything has canceled is the dollar. That's the only thing left, which is good because that's what I wanted to find. Now, in terms of sig figs, do you guys think that 403 kilometers to Penticton is an exact number? Nope, because that's pretty much an estimate. Where in Penticton? Where in Coquitlam? Where am I going? I don't know. Okay, so that, how many sig figs here? There are 3. And this is all multiplication and division, so we're only looking at the number of sig figs. We don't mind what the uncertain digits are. How many sig figs in 0.62137? 5. I'm gonna answer myself here. That's okay. 25 miles per gallon. Ooh, by the way, what about this 1 kilometer? That would have how many sig figs? Infinite. When we're converting between measurement systems like imperial, which is miles, and kilometers, which is metric, the 1 will have infinite sig figs. 25 miles per gallon. That's how far I can travel on 1 gallon of gas. What do you think about the 1? How many sig figs? Infinite. How about the 25 miles? 2. I cannot go exactly 25 miles on 1 gallon of gas. There's all kinds of factors that could affect that. What tires am I using? How often did I have to stop? All kinds of things, right? So this is 2 sig figs. How about my 1 liter up here? Infinite. And 0.26 gallons, that's imperial. So that's going to have 2 sig figs, because when we're converting between measurement systems, whichever one isn't 1 has sig figs. And then finally, $1.30 has 3 sig figs, and the 1 liter has infinite sig figs. So I need to now round this answer to 2 sig figs. Oh, except that it's a round trip. So if it is a round trip, what do I have to do with that number? I have to multiply it by 2. So I have 50.0824. I'm just going to round it there because that's going to be way more numbers than I need. Times 2 is equal to 100.1648 dollar. Okay. But I can only have 2 sig figs, which means I have to take my number and round it there, which means that I'm going to end up with $100, but I need to put an overbar there to show that I only have 2 sig figs. Now, this is a pretty silly thing to have sig figs for, because if I was actually charging the students for the trip and I was working the cost in, let's say there were 5 students on the trip, each of them would pay $20, and I'd just be like, good enough, close enough, whatever, right? Like, but just to practice sig figs, that's what you would end up with. Okay. So if you have not done 2.3a, I would like you to start with that. If you have done 2.3a, then I would like you to do 2.3b. For those of you who have not done 2.3a, your homework is to complete that and try a couple of questions from 2.3b. The rest of you can just do all of 2.3b, and everyone else will be playing catch up. Okay? not just me calculating the cost of my.
I smiled when she said forget the physics. She didn't say forget biology.
No,
It made me happy. I'm in there and I'm like, didn't say it. Anyway, it's so true. Conversions and all of this, you'll use it throughout your life. And still with the say, I always go back to my Chem 11. Yep, we'll be glad you took it. Even if you've never used chemistry again in your life, yes. Titrations and conversions. Chem 11. They're all the easy ones. I know.
So once you've done a question or two, call me over so I can look at your work.